need to be a prophet to see what's ahead. Your path leads to war.
Hey guys, Society Reviews here in my review of the film Dune Part 2. If you're into conspiracy theories, it's not that hard to believe that Hollywood has been releasing some absolute garbage movies over the last several years to make movies like Dune look like Casablanca by comparison. When Dune Part 1 was released back in theaters in 2021, it came out in a time where audiences were desperate to get out of their homes, let alone look for a quality film. It's like when people went to go watch Zoolander after 9/11. In the face of tragedy, the most mediocre film can seem like a great relief. Dune is a cinematic epic in the sense that the film is more of a visual experience than a storytelling epic that most audiences are used to, especially here in the United States. While many were calling the first Dune film one of the best epics in cinematic history, I found the film to be a boring 2.5-hour commercial for a film that we probably weren't going to see for at least another 3 years. A big name cast of heavy hitters, a cinematic score led by the legendary Hans Zimmer, and a marketing machine to push this film that was too big for the small screen. All the tools in the arsenal for Warner Bros. Yet this film replaced emotional connection with sounds and visuals, especially for a 2.5-hour film. Well, several months of delays due to writer and actor strikes, and we finally get Dune Part 2. Was it a worthy test in our patience, or was Dune Part 1 a massive waste of everyone's time? Dune Part 2 begins shortly after the events of the first movie. The story drops us back into the fall of the House of Atreides. Paul is feared to still be alive, thus a threat to the Emperor. But while this is going on, Paul is still struggling to accept the fact that he is the Mahdi, the long prophesied Messiah that the Freeman people refuse to believe since he's not a leader from their ranks. As Paul continues to find his path, his mother, Lady Jessica, is committed to making sure that her son fulfills the prophecy, even if she has to do it herself. With all the houses and factions at the brink of war, all sides gather together for a battle that is guaranteed to be the beginning of a holy war. While I can safely say that Dune Part 2 trumps the first film, there are still flaws that exist from the first movie, much like the source material that this film is based on. Dune is a movie that mixes several religious elements into one melting pot. Audiences who are paying close attention will see parallels to Islam, Catholicism, Buddhism, and other religions that are hammered in way early in the story. The more agnostic members of the audience will probably have these references go over their heads as they attract themselves to the more visual elements of the story. Dune Part 2 takes the route of turning up the action, which improves the overall pacing of the movie compared to its predecessor. Denis Villeneuve once again decides to flex his muscle when it comes to being a visual storyteller and improves on his first movie by making the story a lot easier for the uninitiated. Dune once again presents one of the most impressive cast lists that you'll see in a feature film, with big name talent such as Christopher Walken, Josh Brolin, Florence Pugh, Austin Butler, along with Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya. However, one of the biggest flaws of this film is that the fact that its long-winded story progression makes this series feel more easily digestible as a series rather than a series of movies. The film certainly has the vision of an epic storytelling, but you wonder if a feature film is the right platform for what they're trying to tell. With that said, you certainly can't knock the technical aspects of this movie. Denis' bread and butter is the visual storytelling of his movies. The film is visually stunning, and the visual effects are far more impressive than films where we see a slightly higher production budget. The costume design and the stunt choreography deserves its praise, as this film is certainly a win in a technical aspect. The hard work and effort that went into this film certainly cannot be denied. When it comes down to it, there are things to like about Dune Part 2, however there are still the same flaws that exist in the first movie, which ends up being the biggest issue in our filmmaker's filmography. Villeneuve creates movies that are impressive to look at, but not so enjoyable to watch. Dune Part 2 might not meet expectations surrounding the hype of this movie, but it's certainly a better effort that you're going to see coming out of Hollywood this year. I give this film a 2.5 out of 5.
I will do what must be done. Holy Mother.